welcome to our continuing study of the book of James. I really hope that this flashing reflection doesn't distract you like it's going to distract me. So hopefully you don't have to see it. That's going to distract me. It's really just for me. Today we just want to dive right in and actually wrap up chapter 1. Can you believe it? We are almost done with chapter 1. We're going to finish up this week. And so James wants to make one final point here in chapter 1 before we close out. And just by way of review, remember where we've gone. We've just finished talking about the danger of just hearing the word and not doing the word, doing the gospel, the message of Jesus. And last week we talked about the difference, right, between being a driver, between actually driving a car, the action, and between just playing the game or sitting in the car and playing with the dials. That the faith we have in Jesus, right, needs to be demonstrated as the faith of Jesus, right? That we put our faith and trust in him. But James is saying that faith needs to work its way out in how we go about our life. That God has made us into new people. And as those new people, we have a new way of life that we actually live. And so James is making this one final point as a way to almost poke a little bit at something that would have made his original hearers uncomfortable. Because he's writing to Jewish people. And the major point that he's making has to do with this final word. It has to do with fruit. It has to do with the end goal. So, maybe you're watching, if you're a sports fan like I am, maybe you're watching the Michael Jordan documentary. And I know for some of you, I've just lost you because you're like, I'm not a sports fan. I do not care about Michael Jordan. Well, think about it this way. When you buy tickets to a concert, when you go through all of the challenges and waiting for the right ticket to come out, maybe you're excited. Here's for our theater aficionados. Maybe you're excited for Hamilton to come out on Disney Plus. I've never seen Hamilton. That when it was here in Richmond, we weren't able to get down there. It's very expensive, but I'm thrilled to get to watch it on Disney Plus. And here's the thing: when we go get tickets for a concert, when we go buy tickets for Hamilton, when we go and see athletes perform, there is a goal in these things to finish the show, to play an encore, to win a championship. That there is a result for all of their effort. And what James is getting at here is he's not defining religion alone. He's actually describing what authentic religion is. There's a difference between defining what a religion is in terms of what it believes. But what James is getting at is he's angling at what does your faith, what does your religion, produce? And so the word he uses here for religion, I'm just going to read these verses real quickly for us. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless, James says. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So what James attacks at first is this idea of external religious observance, right? All of the things that we go through as kind of like signals, right? To show other people, hey, I'm religious. This is what it looks like. He's specifically for his Jewish readers, he's identifying these external actions that give people the pretense, right? Oh, that person's religious. So for us, it would be things like checking in at Spotswood on your social media. It would be posting a picture of your Bible reading on Instagram. All of the externals that usually associate with being a religious person. James is saying, look, if you go through and you observe all of these external actions in religion, but your religion doesn't help you control your tongue, and he's using that as a particular example of a general principle. He's saying, look, if your religion is all about externals and all about smoke and mirrors and proving to other people that you're religious, but you don't bridle your tongue, you don't control your tongue, that your religion is not producing anything. It's just a show. It's smoke and mirrors. And he says, true religion, 27, religion that is pure and undefiled, right? Those are very descriptive adjectives. But he also says this, religion that is before God. The word for before there is a very interesting and clear preposition. It's para, right? So where we get our word for parallel or parachute, okay? And what it means is to come alongside. And so what he's really saying is, hey, religion from God's standpoint, religion from God's way of seeing, religion from God's view is this. And he says this, he's not defining religion. He is making a general principle about what true religion is and does. And he's saying true religion, pure and undefiled religion from God's viewpoint, is to visit widows and orphans in their affliction. If you know a little bit about Stevie and I, you know that we're passionate about God's heart for orphans and foster care. And that's not to the exclusion of widows. What James is doing here is he's not just commanding every church to have a foster care and widow ministry. What James is doing is he's taking the generalities that everyone could agree in his ancient audience that widows and orphans were some of the neediest people in their community, right? There's no argument that needs to be had for that. And James is saying true religion, true religious observance yields, okay, so that's a harvest language, that's a fruit language. True religion from God's standpoint yields a way of life and that visits, okay, and that word is a present verb, which means a pattern, a habit of visiting widows and orphans in their affliction. And so James is always looking for this idea, right? That word visit is so powerful. It means a constant habit of visiting. And Jesus used this to say that when you visited me in prison, and his father's like, Jesus, what do you mean? We never visited you in prison. He goes, no. What you've done to the least of these, it's like you've done it to me. And what we're getting at here is that true religion is twofold. It is visiting people around us and needs around us that actually have us engage with the difficulties of our world. And it's also doing that in such a way, right, that the world does not stain us. And that's what he says. It's to visit, right, to consistently live our lives in the presence of people who are in need, people who are on the outskirts of society, to visit widows and orphans in their affliction, right? So true religion puts us out and sends us out in the world in love. And it is a love, just like the love of Jesus, that is willing to sacrifice comfort and convenience for the sake of others who are afflicted. It's sharing in their trials. And James is saying that we are actually sent out. True religion goes out into the world and yet is not corrupted by the world. And guys, these are two things that we get wrong so much in our faith and in our following Jesus. One of the commentators that I read had this statement to say about what James is getting at here. And I think it hurts us as Americans because this is true of so many of us. He says what James is doing here is he is attacking ministry by proxy. What is ministry by proxy? Well, proxy is a person, right, that someone in authority sends in their place to a meeting. Okay, and so ministry by proxy is not possible. God did not send an angel to go die on the cross. God himself came to die on the cross. And we do ministry by proxy all the time. And how do we do this? Well, sometimes we do it by writing a check instead of being personally invested in the hurt of the world around us. I'm not saying that giving funds or resources is bad. I'm saying that if we are giving as a way to keep our distance from the hurt that is being experienced around us, James is saying that our religion is not bearing fruit in the way that it should. That true religion from God's viewpoint is to go in and share the hurt and the burden of the world at the same time without becoming influenced and becoming tainted and cynical and broken by the broken chaos of the world around us. Guys, what sort of Christians would we be if we were people of calm, cool, collected courage in our world? That we Christians should be the last people sharing conspiracy theories on Facebook. We as Christians should be the last people that is touting up fear-mongering. We should be people that we're friends and that are getting along with so many different sorts of people, sharing their burdens, and at the same time, not allowing the pressure and the pattern of the world to shape in us hatred, and violence. That we are people, James says, true religion from God's standpoint is a religion that actually changes the way that we live. And how does it do that? By sending us out into the world, the hard world, to bear the affliction with people who are afflicted, and to do it in such a way that the truth and power of Jesus Christ is exposed. Because when it means you go out into the world, you are subjecting yourself to hurt and to trouble. But guess what? When the world sees that you can't flap a Christian, that the Christians can't be intimidated, that we can't be pushed around, and not that we're meeting power with power or violence with violence, right? Jesus was never at his most powerful when he was silent before Pilate. Pilate goes, Jesus, what kingdom are you from? And Jesus said, my kingdom's not of this world. And then he just was silent. I mean, that's the most powerful that Jesus ever was. And so I just want to encourage you guys, as you're looking and wrapping up this chapter 1 with two questions, one spiritual and one care question. And the spiritual question is this. James is talking, right, about a religion that has a fruit that changes the way you live. If we are living a smoke and mirrors following Jesus, when push comes to shove, we're really not going to have anything to show for it. So the question I want you to ask in your group is this. Did your Christianity, your faith before COVID, help or hurt you in this current moment? What part of your following Jesus has actually prepared you for this moment? And where in your life might you be recognizing that, man, before all this went down, there was some smoke and mirrors in your life that, man, maybe you found out that you were in a small group, but you really didn't have community with the people in your small group. Maybe you said before COVID, I Instagrammed my Bible reading, but now that I've been COVID, I've realized I really haven't been in God's presence in months. What was happening in your pre-COVID religious observances, right, in your religious habits that have surfaced in this moment? And then here's a care question for you. Last week, I asked you to discuss what you're looking forward to coming back to. Right now, what I want you to discuss together is what are some things, okay, what are some ways that you can start to love your neighbor, and maybe that begins in your group. What are some ways that you can be loving each other as the lockdown ends, right? So we still have some restrictions. I want you to think creatively and intentionally about how might God be calling you and equipping you to love right where you're at. So maybe your office is opening back up. Maybe you have a relationship with a salon that you're excited to go back to. How might God be preparing you to take the message of Jesus, the good news, the hope of Jesus, back into your office or back into the salon or back into your neighbor or your friend's house? So just encouraging you guys, we just want you to know we miss you guys, love you. If you guys have any questions or concerns or struggles, we want you to know you're not alone, and we're here to help. Guys, we will see you soon. News is coming soon about our reopening. We're excited to share that with you. So hang tight. We'll be together soon. We will see you guys then.